Just to do a quick recap, we'll take it from the bottom. We'll take it from the potato crater and move up. I love how all of the dirt is slowly gathered grass from down here. That is a lot of dirt spilt down there over time. Got the iron, got the copper, got the gold, which is partially buried. And we've got the trees, which are slowly being dug out of the potato crater. All of these spots here used to have forests on them. We're being good dapplings, and we are deforesting the everything. The ramps out of the crater, all the way up, all the way over a little bit of sandbank, some water there. This is the copper mine. Over here, we have the chicken farms. So, to refresh your memories, these are all growing corn, and they've got one season of corn, one season of fallow, one season of corn, one season of fallow. We are providing them with fertilizer too, so we're actually keeping the fertility of the fields very high. That corn is then used to convert into animal feed. Why we've got potatoes? I think we were growing potatoes once, but that corn is turned into animal feed. The animal feed is fed to the animals. Any leftover, any excess corn gets fed down here to make corn mash and animal feed. The corn mash is sent over here, where it is coupled with oxygen to make ethanol and CO2. The CO2 is burnt and the ethanol is sent on. We'll cover where that goes in a moment. But the animal feed from that gets sent back around and all fed into 3 chicken farms, fully stocked chicken farms. All of the chickens, the eggs, and the chicken. So the eggs get sent straight down here to unit storage and then get exported to the town. But the chickens get fed into the food processor. They first get turned into meat and meat trimmings using salt and a bit of water. And then the meat specifically gets fed back around and straight back in where it is converted into more meat trimmings. We've got the salt there that we get from elsewhere, and I'll cover that in a moment. We've got some water collectors to help with the water here as well. Anubis, thank you very much for the 28 months. Diolch yn fawr iawn. But the meat trimmings all go over here all the way. And on the way, we've got the copper over here. We've got acid and water. It takes acid where it can, but water where it has to, because water is a less efficient recipe. But this is giving us the copper plates, the refined copper plates. But the meat trimmings come all the way up here, and also so does the ethanol. The ethanol gets accepted as a priority input along with fuel gas, which I will cover in just a moment. See, there's fuel gas here entering, but that's not the fuel gas that gets a priority. This is the fuel gas that gets priority in the ethanol. These two get used in equal measure, more or less. And then it gets output to each of these gas boilers, where they will burn ethanol as a priority if they can, and if they can't, they'll burn fuel gas. Now, generally, we try to run this on the fuel gas wherever we can. This all runs our steam power, which is pretty much the entirety of the power that we've got in the settlement at the moment. This is where all of our power comes from, 4 steam turbine stacks. These are the advanced steam turbines. Now, we use natural gas from our oil refinery, which I'll cover in a moment. The water is brought down from our industrial water supply, but we do accept coal, biomass, and animal feed. And we will burn the animal feed and the biomass as a priority in 3 potential coal generators, which also top up the steam where possible. But for the meat trimmings, they continue all the way along. There's a bit of an overflow, so if this line fills up, then it gets overflowed down here into the anaerobic digesters, where they will burn off wheat, potatoes, meat trimmings, or sludge, depending what's available, to produce fuel gas. That fuel gas then gets piped down, and that's the priority fuel gas we use. Because we don't really store this, I don't want it backing up. They also produce compost, and that compost comes up here. If we can send it down here, we do. This mixer uses compost and water to make organic fertilizer, which gets used in the farms that feed our settlement. But if we can use a fertilizer level 2, which is made in our oil refinery, then we do. These are all greenhouses, and they make potato, vegetables, corn, and wheat in rotation. Any overflow compost gets popped here that we can use then for filling up as like natural dirt. Anyway, so the meat trimmings come all of the way over here, where they are processed along with salt and flour to make sausages. You see, we get the flour down here. All of these things output potatoes in here, corn in here, vegetables over here, bread and sausages made back this way. But once these are full up, basically we've got an overflow system that is far more complicated than it needs to be and is frankly a mess. That gets sent down here. So if we've got an overflow of like wheat or anything, it all gets brought down this way. In fact, the wheat does have to come this way because you can't just eat wheat. But the wheat gets brought down and it gets provided into the bakeries. Wheat gets turned into flour and animal feed, and the animal feed gets sent over here, and that's why we burn it as a priority. And the flour is then added with water, makes some bread, and also overflow gets used to make the sausages. So that's where the bread and sausages come, and they get sent back over here. So that's our food system. Down here, we've got a couple of odds and sods storages for varying reasons that we probably don't need, and I'm probably going to get rid of, if I'm perfectly honest. These are the inputs: concrete, wood, iron to make construction parts 1. Then construction parts 1 get added with electronics. They are split evenly between making construction parts 2 and getting stockpiled for use in my building. Because we do build things that need construction parts 1 still, occasionally. Construction parts 2 come down here, then much the same way, get stored or mixed with steel to make construction parts 3. And then construction parts 3 gets stored in an enormous warehouse because, frankly, we need a lot of them. Oof. Hey, Wade Hearts, how you doing? Bored already? Well, I'm going to be honest, this, I mean, it's pause at the moment. I'm giving a recap, so maybe you're just bored of not seeing anything happening. But I'm going to be honest with you. If you're bored by the recap, you're probably going to be bored of the game. And there's nothing wrong with that. Some games are just not for everyone. This is like a factory production chain game. If you like games like Factorio, you would probably like this once we get going. It's a complex game, and this is a couple of streams in, and it's been a while since I've streamed it, so this recapping is as much to remind me what parts of the factory are doing what and what parts I need to upgrade. Beyond that, though, again, if you're not into these sort of games, don't worry. Not everyone is. This is definitely a niche area. So we just covered the building parts over there. Down here we've got our, let's see, we've got the repair facilities, the maintenance. So over here we drop off iron or steel. I prefer to use steel if I can because it gives a much better ratio of machine parts. 12 steel will make 24 machine parts versus 30 iron, which makes 24 machine parts. Also, we drop off copper plate and rubber to make electronics. Electronics and machine parts get mixed together to make maintenance. And they also produce waste, recyclables, which get brought down here. We fill this up with recycled iron. Same with this. This is, well, these are general recyclables. I guess they're all just general recyclables. But the recyclables then get converted into the various, like iron scrap, copper scrap, broken glass, gold scrap, depending on what made the recyclables. I don't know how the game tracks that, but I trust it to track it properly. But yeah. What sort of games do you like? Oh, I'm not bored now. You acknowledge me. Ah, I see. You were bored because I hadn't said hello. I see. A strange requirement to whether you're engaged or bored. But you know what? Actually, not that, and not without precedent. My ferrets are much the same. If you don't pay them attention, they get bored, and they'll start doing increasingly bonkers antics until you start paying them attention, and then they're quite content. Down here we've got acid being brought over. The acid is... Where did we make the acid? I think we make the acid up here. Yeah, we make the acid up there. All of it comes from over there, so that everywhere that uses acid gets it brought over. Acid gets popped in there, along with sand, along with salt, along with limestone. I'm going to be honest, chat. I had no idea that you use salt to make glass. I had no idea. Like, to the point that I was suspicious when I looked at this. I'm gonna be honest with you. There's like a big part of this which is like, hey, so yeah, is this game logic? Did you just need an extra use for salt? Or is this actually how you make glass mix? More so ash, but that is pretty much salt. Okay, yeah, that checks. I know that ash gets used in making glass, or in certain types of glass. Huh. Okay. Okay, that's very interesting. That's very interesting. You don't need to. Soda glass is a specific kind of glass. Okay. But yeah, we use acid, salt, limestone, and sand to make glass mix. I'm very glad that you're engaged now. Wade Harst. I'm sorry, I mispronounced your name the first time. I thought it said Hart. It's actually Hurst, I guess. English is a weird language, and it's my second language. I do hope you will forgive me for my inability to pronounce some words. Nevertheless, here we go. Imberfor, that's not an English name, but I don't know what pronunciation rules I'm meant to use for that particular combination of letters. We've got coal being brought in by the main coal line. This is where the glass mix goes, but also, this is where any broken glass gets brought. So we can recycle the broken glass, and again, like most of the recyclables, it's a lot more efficient to melt down broken glass back into glass than to use glass mix. So because if you melt broken glass down, we just need fuel and broken glass, and that just gives us the molten glass. But if we use glass mix, we also produce the waste product of slag. Now, we do need slag, but wherever we can avoid producing it, it is still a good idea because you generate so much. And then we've got a couple of storages for glass over here from our glass makers. Then all the way down here, we've got the drop-off for all of the slag, and then that gets taken elsewhere. We will tackle this great complicated thing in just a second. All of the coal currently is being brought over here from this coal mine. That's simply being brought up here along with any rock or dirt that we find, and then those are taken elsewhere. But the coal feeds all the way down this line and basically branches off wherever it's needed. It's just evenly split to all the places that are going to use it. Although this is using 39 kilowatts to run this conveyor, it is grossly more efficient than having a truck carry this coal around. Because I would need several trucks constantly burning diesel to move this much coal around the whole factory, because coal is used everywhere. So belting it around, even though it does use up power, especially on the lines which are the upgraded sorts. Well, actually, maybe the upgraded lines use less. I'm not actually sure about that. But it uses a lot of power to get where it's going, but it is so much better for us. Shockingly better for us. And there's still a couple of places where I actually want to set that up, because I've rebuilt a couple of things recently, and I haven't yet peeled off a new connector for the coal. The salt disturbs the otherwise crystalline structure and makes it an anamorphic ceramic. Oh, okay. Thank you very much for that. Okay, I'm gonna ask you. Be honest with me now, Dick Butt. Look, you've got a name like Dick Butt, so you're instantly trustworthy. So I'm just gonna take it on your word that you're being honest about this. Did you wiki that, or did you just know? Is Dick Butt a glassmith, or is Dick Butt a wiki connoisseur? We need this information in our lives right now. The Dick Butt knows all. It does appear to be the case, yeah. Over here we've got our research. We're up to a high tier of research now. We're at Research Labs 4. Now, what happens here is we deliver glass, liquid nitrogen, and lab equipment level 2. I mean, I don't think we actually need that one there. This is more of an overflow kind of situation. But we use the Liquid nitrogen, actually, we'll start all the way down here, shall we? Let's go all the way down here. So we drop off rubber, copper, and electronics, as well as iron and machine parts, which we bring from other parts of the factory. The rubber and copper gets turned into electronics. I guess this is just an electronics overflow. Oh, no, sorry. This is where we're making electronics. So that is there so that I've got spares that I can take elsewhere. And I imagine that's the case over here as well. Is this an overflow as well? Yes, it is. So what's happening here then is we are using the iron to make machine parts here. Can I make that out of steel instead? No, it doesn't look like we can. Unless I can do it over here. Yes, we could. We could switch over to steel for mechanical parts, and I think that might be worth doing. I would much prefer to have the more efficient steel economy than the iron economy. We'll put that onto the to-do list, chat. Oh, I wish this was like Satisfactory where I could like have a little to-do list that I could write. That'd be amazing. I'm a mechanical engineering student. I'm sorry for the name. It's my throwaway. Don't say sorry. It's perfectly okay. Look, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say if Twitch allows you to have that name, then I have no reason to not say it. And if Twitch takes issue with your name, well then Twitch should have updated their name filter better then, shouldn't they? This is on Twitch's head, not mine, or yours. But that's actually really cool. Hey, Osalius knocked in. How you doing, mate? Just popping in to say hi. I have a massive headache. Oh, I guess you're not doing so well. I'm sorry to hear that, though. Still hope you're having a wonderful time zone, though. I hope your headache passes quickly, buddy. I'm sorry that you're struggling with that one right now. Watch what you wish for. There are a lot of cursed names on it. That is actually true. Minok. I hope I said that right. That is fair. Okay, so what? I'll walk that back a little bit. Dickbutt, I find funny. There are probably a lot of names that get past the Twitch spam filter I would not find funny. But for now, Dickbutt is allowed. We like Dickbutt. Oh, wait. Let me... God damn it. Okay, so... In before, Bilal adds a new quote. I made that one too easy for you, Bilal, frankly. If you go for that, I'm going to be a little bit disappointed in you. That's the lowest hanging fruit. See, Bilal is tempted, but he's like, I could, it's barely. It feels like that was an own goal. It's not true defeat. Bilal in this production is actually a Jem'Hadar. He wants a proper battle. He isn't satisfied with killing a wounded fawn. No. He wants a warrior, and that was 100% just a mewling babe. How you doing, Bubbles? Awesome to see you in chat. I hope your new snow boots are holding up. Lady Sheilab has got a new pair of snow boots now too. Ahead of Edinburgh Hogmanay, because it may or may not be icy, and Edinburgh is basically built on a slope. But anyway, we've got mechanical parts and electronics coming in. These that get turned into lab equipment level 1 over here, and also vehicle parts along with some... Oh, that's why we're doing it with iron. Right. That is why we're using iron for this. It's because iron has to be used to make mechanical parts, unless... Can steel be transplanted for that? Because it can be in quite a few recipes. No. Okay. Well, we'll stick with the lab equipment first. So the level 1 lab equipment with liquid nitrogen becomes level 2 lab equipment, which then, in combination with glass, which gets delivered, gets turned into level 3 lab equipment, which is currently what we use to do research. And each of these produces recyclables, which would have glass and iron. I don't think we recycle the liquid nitrogen, sadly. But there'll be quite a few materials that will be recyclable from there. The level 1 vehicle parts get brought down here, and they are joined by some steel and glass to make a vehicle parts 2. And then that is joined by electronics, which we do not make currently. The only time we have electronics is when we trade for them. For a rather hefty sum. It costs us 40 construction parts 3 to get 20 electronics, but they get added into the vehicle parts 2 to make vehicle parts 3. Now, vehicle parts 3 and vehicle parts 2, because we split them off, get brought over hither and then into this facility, along with fuel, rubber, and steel. Now, we don't have to put glass in there. If you're wondering, well, what do they use for windshields? Because obviously this is a vehicle manufacturing area. Well, that's already in there. It's a part of the vehicle parts 2. So this place accepts the fuel and all of the other gubbins. And then we can construct the big boy vehicles, like the the mega excavator. The large tree harvester. We have got one of those, actually, yeah. We've stopped using pickups. We've basically completely replaced all of our pickups with trucks. We've got 4 hauler trucks and 1 hauling tank truck. We've gotten rid of all of our small excavators and have 17 excavators and 3 mega excavators. The thing with mega excavators is they can only be serviced by a haul truck, a dump truck, basically. Because they can't, I don't think they can offload into regular trucks. I might be wrong about that. But the haul trucks can only be serve a mega excavator. That's the only way they function. And they don't do trips between things. Like, you can't have a haul truck go over to a glass stockpile and bring glass to another place. That has to be a regular truck. The mega trucks can only carry loose items to and fro. And it's the same with the... Well, actually, no, it isn't the same with the big trucks. They can haul from storages. So I'm not sure if they're ever going to change that with the gigantic trucks, but we'll see. This current gigantic truck is currently cannibalizing a regular excavator. Look, it's survival of the fittest, and the whole truck is hungry. Bob is always hungry. Bob is currently eating that poor level 2 excavator, whilst the level 3 excavator just watches. Look, it's a circle of life. It's not our place to interfere. If we interfere, we're going to throw out the entire ecosystem. Oh yeah, the mega excavator can actually service a regular truck as well. Okay, that's cool. Aavak, sir, I found steel to be expensive in oxygen, but maybe there was an easier way than splitting it from water. Yeah, an air separator. Air separator will give you 36 oxygen and 36 nitrogen every minute. So when you do that, if you're not using the nitrogen and you just want the oxygen, just vent the nitrogen. It's non-pollutant. Same with the oxygen. If you just need the nitrogen, just grab the oxygen. Bob is the name of a planet, not an excavator. This is heresy. Who died you and me? Who died and made you king of Bob? Now, looking at all the stuff over here, this is the last part now, and then we're all caught up, and we can finally... Well, actually, no, there's still more stuff. Oh my god, this recap is taking it forever. This is going to be an entire episode of recap. My goodness. Hey, Goose, thank you very much for the 60 months. Diolch yn fawr iawn. So, this is our concrete setup. We've got water coming over from, like, most of the water for the industrial purposes come from 4 groundwater pumps, as well as runoff from our desalination plant, and then get redistributed. So we'll just assume that all water is coming from there. But we've got fuel gas being brought down from the oil smelter, or rather the refinery. We've got limestone from mining, we've got rock from mining, we've got, rock from mining and slag from all of our smelting works. Got rotary kilns then. Now, I am a little bit concerned because basically I've got gas rotary kilns only, which means that if we should ever run out of gas, that is going to shut down our concrete production. But for now, I'm okay with it. So we've got rotary kilns dumping. The limestone is being cooked into cement and CO2. The CO2 is getting immediately off-gassed. We've got an input for cement if I happen to have any from the world map or anything like that. That is then getting fed down into concrete mixers. We've also got slag, which gets crushed into crushed slag. And I'm going to be changing up some of this in a moment, but the crushed slag gets stored in here and then used as a priority in the cement recipe. But if for any reason we should ever run out of crushed slag, we also take rock from our excavators and crush that down into gravel. The gravel will be used as a secondary input if we don't have enough slag, and that will activate this cement recipe. So I'll take either crushed slag or gravel, sand, cement, and water to make concrete. But if we've got an overflow on gravel, which is usually the case if we've got a full stock of slag available, then we'll further crush the gravel into sand. We don't actually rely on any excavators gathering sand. We just crush the mountain down into sand and then use that. And then that gives us our cement. Now we're currently, if we've got an overflow, we send sand, gravel, and crushed slag over here. We really shouldn't be doing this with the slag. I'm probably going to change that up. But the gravel and the sand will have a use, which I'll come to in a moment. Down here then, we've got loose storage for limestone, coal, iron ore, and iron scrap. Thaddeus, thank you so much for the 5 gift sub. That's incredibly kind of you. Thank you so, so much, buddy. That's fantastically kind of you. Thank you. How was everyone's Christmas yesterday? Pretty good. I can only speak for myself. But pretty good. I hope yours was good, Emperor Bulby. Okay, so if we've got scrap iron, we'll actually use that over anything else, because scrap iron, again, makes molten iron without any byproduct. Otherwise, we first crush all of our iron ore into crushed iron ore, and this is the same that we do for the copper, by the way. I believe we do. Oh no, we've not actually set up the tier 2 stuff for copper yet. We'll get to that. But we crush the iron ore into crushed iron ore. So 36 iron ore gets turned into 36 iron ore crushed. And then the iron ore gets fed into the smelters, and so the crushed iron ore gets used along with limestone and coal to make molten iron, slag, and exhaust. Now, if we were just using regular iron ore, let me see if I can show you the comparison of the recipe. So iron ore is 24 iron ore, 9 coal, makes 24 molten iron, and 12 slag. But if we take the time to crush it down first and add in the limestone, for 3 limestone and 15 coal this time, 36 iron ore will make 48 molten iron. So we make our iron stretch a lot further by using up a bit more coal and limestone. In fact, I don't even think it's a bit more coal, it's just more limestone. That then produces that off-gases exhaust. All of those exhaust pipes come down here, get vented. Additionally, all of the molten iron comes down here, gets melted into iron plates, and then exported for use elsewhere. Some of the crushed iron, though, comes over here, and again, using limestone and iron and coal, we get the molten iron, exactly the same recipe, but now we introduce oxygen. Oxygen plus molten iron produces molten steel, half as much. And that gets cooled into plates as well. So that's where we're getting our steel and our iron, and also our concrete. And that brings us up to the final tier, or the first tier, where we actually started the game. As an engineer, I love the detail in most of the industries, a few steps above the average game. But as someone who has spent 20 years designing electrical transmission infrastructure, I can't look past missing power lines. Yeah, that is actually not an uncommon point that people make, is that they kind of miss the power line spaghetti. You are not alone, McCurd. Shark Boy, what's this? What's this? Those silos are looking around. What's this? What's this? They are rising from the ground. This looks like Factorio, but 3D. If I'd realised what you were doing early enough, I would have sung that in Nightmare Before Christmas style. Sadly, I did not, but I do appreciate the effort you went to. I've now got Jack's Lament playing in my head. I know that's not the song that you were trying to go for there, but that happens to be my favourite song, so out of Nightmare Before Christmas. Right. Then we get to the town itself. Once a bunch of cargo containers, it is now actually starting to look pretty snazzy, I must say. You've got a bunch of drop-offs for the recyclables, the biomass, the plastic waste gets incinerated. We've also got a transformer for electrics. We've got vegetables, potatoes, eggs, sausages, corn, and bread, all being fed in here. Over on the far side, we've got Idea, which we're providing steel, wood, and glass to make household goods. That's supplying the town with those. We've also got water down here and wastewater being taken out. The wastewater is currently being recycled, but first we'll start at the beginning. This seems like a reasonable place to start. We're bringing in salt water. We're then desalinating the salt water into water and brine. Where possible, we send the brine down here to our evaporation ponds, and we just let that happen. That eventually outputs salt. Currently, this is easily keeping pace with our salt demands in the colony. Any leftovers, we dump out here, and we dump a lot of it. For some reason, brine does not kill the ocean, but honestly, if you started taking all the water out and just pumping the brine or salt back in, you would very quickly concentrate the salt in the water to the point where it would be ultra toxic to pretty much all marine life. But thankfully, that is not the case for us here. The water is given priority to industrial uses, but it does fill up the water reservoirs here and then gets used by the rest of the housing and also a little bit by industry. But looking at the water, priority out is here. That goes all the way up there and fills up the water here for our boilers. We also have fuel gas over here, coal, and bio-waste, which gets boiled off in a gas boiler or regular boilers, depending on what's available to them. And that all produces steam, which then, with a priority on using the gas boiler, because that's a bit more efficient, that steam is what powers the desalination process. If we have enough brine, we send it down here to the electrolysis. The electrolyzers, in fact, I'm going to say that should have priority as well. Down here we use brine, and using electrolysis we get chlorine gas. Oh, well, actually, no, it's gas, liquid, same thing, really. Gets brought down here with a priority out to the wastewater treatment, or to and then if there's runover, we stockpile it. And then that gets used in a couple of other places in the factory. We also bring some water over here as well. Or rather, we accept water from this, because this wastewater plant, we bring over sand, and we bring over... Is there anything else we bring down here? Oh yeah, of course, the actual wastewater from the settlement gets brought down here. The wastewater is combined with sand and chlorine to produce water and sludge. The sludge is put into the anaerobic digesters to produce fuel gas, which then gets reburnt in the process, and also compost. The compost gets brought out here and then is used for filling and resurfacing and for building farms and that sort of thing. That's currently the only desalination plant we have, but I would like to make another one and dedicate it for our industrial purposes. Over here we've got the captain's office, which we've got a couple of edicts on the go, and we're actually Unity positive in a big way, so I could turn on some more things like more recyclables, which I may well do. This is our current ship, the Butter's Ray, the float. And then over here we have Belial the Best, our cargo ship, which is responsible for pretty much keeping the power on in the entire colony. If Belial wasn't there, the colony would immediately collapse. If Butter's Ray wasn't there, we'd be sad, because we've invested a lot of money into making Butter's Ray a weapon of war from the humble cargo ship that it once was. But Belial is absolutely integral to the operation of the colony. If Belial is delayed, we feel it. But right now, Butter's Ray can win most fights by themselves. We do need to upgrade them a little bit to get to some of the end fights, but right now they're in a pretty good way. Down hither, we are pulling water in and desalinating it, and then immediately dumping the salt water. Where is that? Goes out here, goes a long way, all the way down here, and then just immediately gets dumped. So water comes in there. We're also using biomass or coal along with water to burn in the coal boiler. So biomass if we can, since, you know, trying to be as efficient as possible, using up any waste materials we can rather than have to rely on digging more and more and more. Oh, that's right, actually, but Belial is now bringing in logs, that's right. The job for oil was given to someone else, but honestly, the logs are still kind of intensely important because we are running out of logs down here. Ever so quickly, we're going to get to the point that there is no wood left on the island, but wood is required in a couple of recipes, notably the very foundation point for all of our ability to build anything, and also for making chairs. Anyone who's besmirching the importance of Belial does not understand what a tragedy it would be if our people had to eat without a table. You don't want to see that tantrum spiral. No one does. But Russ Pixie, so Aavak, there seems to be a mistake. How can the immortal ship be named Belial? Rude. Aradit, thank you very much for the 10 gift sub. That's super kind of you. Diolch yn fawr iawn. It's Road Drain that does the fueling. We'll change that name. That's an awful name for a ship. That's a cursed ship name. How can we possibly have a road train ship? Awful. As soon as we see the road train ship, we're going to need to change his name. It's the only way. But we've got a bunch of boilers over here. Now, we've got a couple of different priorities feeding into that. But largely, this place takes from here, which is fuel gas, and from here, which is heavy oil. Didn't mean to do that. So priority from that. We used to burn off ethanol here. We used to produce ethanol here, but we no longer do. These will burn heavy oil first, then fuel gas, if available. And you'll see there's 3 gas boilers because we really want to use the gas made in the system rather than have to introduce other elements wherever possible. This boiler is mostly there to kickstart the process if something were to happen and it go down for some reason. We have an input of oil there, and all of this goes down, basically producing massive amounts of steam. We have a cargo ship deliver crude oil that gets stored in these tanks and then enters the first stage of our of our fuel refinery. Crude oil plus steam makes medium oil and heavy oil and some sour water. The heavy oil immediately gets sent all the way down here to get burnt. It's the only thing we use heavy oil for that I recall. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the only thing we use it for. The medium oil gets sent straight ahead, and the sour oil goes down here, and we'll cover what happens with that in a bit. Next up, we take the medium oil and steam again to make diesel and light oil. The diesel gets sent to the side, and then gets sent out as a priority along this route. That priority comes down here and then gets sent out again as a priority to this one. This is a dedicated fuel storage for my ship. So that the ship that's bringing the crude oil always has enough diesel to go and get more crude oil. Because if that cycle ever breaks, we lose everything again. I'm not going to rename Road Train. That was obviously a joke. Hopefully you could pick up on the sarcasm there. I might rename whatever. It's like Road Train the whatever. I might change it to obnoxious. But we'll keep Road Train the something. But the fuel gets priority down here for that. Then it'll get split off to at low priority to keep Bilal going with bringing in lumber, and also to the backup generators. Should any of these ever run, then that means that we're ticking down to disaster. We've got enough backup power here and enough fuel to run it for a bit. But honestly, if these are running, it means that our steam turbines have stopped running in some capacity, and that is disaster territory. We need to fix that problem immediately. So that's where the diesel goes. And then finally, at low priority over here, it gets brought down and then fed into this beautiful machine. Some diesel goes up there for a couple of other reasons, but most of it, the lion's share, comes into this massive storage, and then that gets brought down hither as priority into a large fuel station, which has got many fuel trucks. So basically, none of our trucks have to come over here to be refueled, or at least the excavators don't. Our fuel trucks will go to the excavators and deliver fuel rather than the excavator have to come over here because they are slow. Other than that, though, the next stage in distillation moves from the distillation stage 2 to stage 3, which it takes the light oil and steam to make naphtha and fuel gas. The fuel gas, as you've seen, gets carted off down here to be burnt, but it also gets picked up from other places as well. Like, trucks can come and collect fuel gas if they want to. The naphtha gets all brought down here and stored in this container, then that gets piped out. This is easily the most complicated system here. So naphtha comes all the way down here, gets a priority out over here to join with sulfur to produce rubber. So this is where we make rubber for the colony for the most part. And yeah, it's just the sulfur and the naphtha there. So the other two out is one down here, which takes steam and naphtha to make more fuel gas. So basically, if we have got a backup on rubber, then we produce more fuel gas and sour water with the naphtha. So we don't really use the naphtha for anything else. We just turn it into fuel gas if we can. The fuel gas then gets delivered down here and joins into this fuel gas line. The sour water gets brought out and merges with the sour water from the very beginning of the system. This is this is a really complicated system, but this is something I love about this game. It's kind of like oxygen not included. You make use of everything, and then the things that come from that, everything, like the waste products, you also use those, and then you use those, and then you use those, and you have this enormous kind of spaghetti system of dependencies. It's fantastic. Nozomi Alwyn, thank you very much for the raid. Welcome. Oh, I'm so glad, Art by Chozo, that you actually said that, because I was a little bit worried about how I split that name up, but I was correct. It's Nozomi Alwyn. Alwyn, rather. Shamai, my good man. Oh, Da iawn. Okay. Either Art by Chozo simply knows a bit of Welsh, or is Welsh, or Nozomi Olwyn is also Welsh. In which case, because I mispronounced it the first time, a little known fact, Wen and Wyn. Quite a lot of names in Welsh are exactly the same except E or Y. Wyn or Wen. Wen is typically Wen is typically feminine and Wyn is typically masculine. Wyn in Rome. Bronwen, Bronwyn. Gwyn, Gwen. Oh, take care, Nozomi. Thank you so much for the raid. You have a good sleep. Diolch yn fawr. Chozo has been practicing his Welsh with me. That is glorious. I will try to take care of the gremlins. I will do my best anyway. I have got a good cage, a safe cage to put them in. There we go. They can enjoy their time in the cage. Oh, actually, I've got to zoom the camera out first. I hope they like ferrets, because they're going to be bunking with them. Zoom, 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 zoom. There we go. Got lots of little hammocks and places where they can run. It's going to be fine. I'm sure the ferrets won't try to eat them. I'm reasonably sure the ferrets won't try to eat them. I offer no guarantees, but I hope they won't try to eat them. Hwyl fawr, nos da. Okay. We were just going... Oh, you've come in at the tail end of me recapping what we've done since the last stream. Or rather, what's going on in the factory. So, where were we up to? We were just covering naphtha. So naphtha gets turned into fuel gas and more sour water. All of the sour water that's here gets combined with steam to produce sulfur, ammonia, and a little bit more water. So we reclaim some of the water. That's where the sulfur comes from, by the way, that we use to make the rubber. We then also use sulfur plus water to make acid. We need quite a lot of this. And any sulfur that we have left over, we just burn. It is not the best thing to burn, but we can't allow this to back up. So we have to get rid of it if it overfills. Aavak, 1 hour and 45 minutes in, and he still hasn't unposted. Well, to be fair, I've only been playing the game, though, for 50 minutes. Thank you. We were talking about other stuff before that. And dealing with edgelords. Only 50 minutes of actual game recappage has occurred. A little bit of pollution doesn't hurt anyone, right? Yeah, sure. We'll go with that. Just throw the sulfur into the ocean with the brine. Damn it. Shush. Right, so over here then, we also produce oxygen and nitrogen. We are simply releasing the oxygen back into the atmosphere. Obviously not causing us any trouble there at all. We are also... where does that get its materials from, though? Is the question. Let's trace this back. Steam comes up there, goes in here. This is all the way down here. This is... Oh, this sour water gets delivered there. We're basically making naphtha and sour water out of diesel and steam. But when do we decide to bring diesel over here is the question. Let's see. That comes down here. Ah, right. Okay, so the lowest priority. So we accept the diesel in. We give it a high priority to go into storage. But if we can't store any more diesel, Like, all of our vehicles are fueled. There's no diesel going anywhere. All of the ships are already fueled because it comes here as the low priority. So if it reaches this junction, it has nowhere else to go. We convert it into naphtha and sour water. The sour water gets converted into sulfur, ammonia, and water. And the naphtha goes back down here, no doubt, and gets converted into fuel gas. So we turn the diesel into fuel gas if we've got nothing else to do with it. Because fuel gas is used in quite a lot of places. It's used as one of our primary fuels for gas boilers. Right, so what do we do with the ammonia? The ammonia comes along this long route and then splits up down here into a couple of places. First and foremost, actually, let me just double check something. Ooh, we need to make this priority it out in that direction as well. Basically, the ammonia comes in and then splits here, where we use ammonia, nitrogen, and water to make fertilizer 1. And also down here, so we've got 6 plants making fertilizer 1. And, oh, sorry, no, 4 plants by the looks of it making fertilizer 1. Let's just double check. No, 5. So we've got 5 separate chemical plants making fertilizer out of the ammonia, and if we can't do anything else with it, we burn it. Again, we can't afford for it to ever stockpile. We also use the nitrogen for that. So ammonia, nitrogen, and a bit of water, probably reclaimed water at this point, gets made into fertilizer. Down here, we take steel and the nitrogen that we're bringing in to make liquid nitrogen. This is what we use for our research purposes. And additionally, that regular fertilizer gets delivered over to these mixers, which each take a little bit of extra sulfur from the sulfur area down there and some limestone. We mix fertilizer, limestone, and sulfur to make the level 2 fertilizer. And that is pretty much